Namaste and good evening. We'll start with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now we'll chant Mahamrityunjaya mantra 3 times to pray for those who are in suffering, particularly during this period of pandemic. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanam Mrityormukshiyam Amruta. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanam Mrityormukshiyam Amruta. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyam Amrutat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome everyone. We'll start with our story of Manas, Ramacharitamanasa. So if you remember last time, we had started the dialogue between Yajnavalkya and Bharadwaja. Bharadwaja is the disciple, Yajnavalkya is the guru. And Bharadwaja requests Yajnavalkya that, tell me the story of Rama. Who is this Rama? And Yajnavalkya smiles and says, O sage, you already know everything. You are a great devotee of Rama. But because you want to hear his stories, you are posing this question to me as if you do not know. But I'll tell you the whole story. And he says the same question was put up by Sati, Lord Shiva's wife, in old times. And then he starts telling that story, the story of Shiva and Sati's delusion. So, once upon a time in Treta Yuga, Treta is one of the 4 yugas in the Hindu mythology. Lord Shiva goes to Agastya, Sage Agastya. And with him there was his wife Sati. And Rishi tells Lord Shiva the story of Rama, which makes Lord Shiva very pleased, and he gives a boon of devotion to the sage. And then when he is returning from the Rishi Agastya, Sage Agastya's ashram to his abode Kailash, that was the time when Lord Rama had taken the birth on this earthly plane. And he was at that time already exiled into forest. And that very same day when Lord Shiva was returning through this area called Dandaka, the very same day Lord Rama's wife Mother Sita, she was kidnapped by Ravan. And Lord Rama was very disturbed. He was just looking for her here and there without knowing what to do, without feeling at all any ease in his heart. When Lord Shiva sees Lord Rama, he just bows down to him, just mentally from the distance, because he did not want to come near and give his identity. So just from a distance, quite a bit of distance, he sees him and he just bows to him and says, "Oh Lord, glory unto you. When Sati, she sees this, Lord Shiva glorifying somebody else as Supreme Lord itself, she says, how can that be? She said, like Brahman, which is all pervading, without birth, without parts, free from desire. How can this man be like that? How this man doesn't even know where his wife is? So Lord Shiva tries to explain to her that, look, this is the same Lord Rama whose story we just heard. But somehow in Sati's mind, the confusion does not go. She is, how can that be? And when this thing happened again and again, whereby Sati will not be able to get conviction, Lord Shiva tells, okay, then you go and test yourself, test him yourself, and then you will understand. And Sati says, okay. So he somehow thought, Lord Shiva, in his heart, that these are not good omens, that Sati is not listening to me, not able to understand what I'm saying, and she wants to test the Lord himself. Not a good omen. So, but anyway, he had decided that whatever Lord wishes, it has to happen. There's no point in indulging in further speculation. So then, after we covered till this in the last class, and now we'll start the next from there onwards. So Sati goes to Lord Rama, and now she is thinking how to test him. She looks at him, and he just a very not feeling any consolation because his wife is abducted, just like an ordinary man running helter-skelter here and there, trying to find out where his wife is gone. And just Lord Rama is crying at that time, he is weeping, he is very angry, and she sees all this, and she is wondering, this guy is so much in love with his wife, and he just looks like an ordinary prince who is exiled and doesn't look anything great about him. How can Lord Shiva think that he is the Supreme God himself? And along with Lord Rama, there was also his brother Lakshmana. So Sati is thinking how to test him even then, even if he looks an ordinary person, how to know for sure. So what she decided, she takes the form of Mother Sita and starts walking a little bit distance ahead of Lord Rama. So Lord Rama is like looking here and there. He's trying to find Sita. So Sati takes the form of Sita and just starts walking a few yards ahead of Lord Rama, so that soon Lord Rama will see her, and then he will feel quite amazed that Sita is here. That was her idea. So when she starts walking like that in the form, taking the form of Sita, first Lakshmana sees her. Lakshmana is confused a little bit. He thought, like, we are looking for Sita. Sita should not just leave our cottage like that, and she is walking here. It is all very unusual. He was not sure. So, but he kept quiet because he had trust in Rama. He knew divinity of Lord Rama. When Lord Rama sees Mother Sita, Sati in the form of Mother Sita, he immediately understood everything. So here is the verse. Sati kapat janu sur Swami, sab darsi sab antar jami, sumirat jahi mitai agyana, soi sarvagya Ram Bhagwana, Sati कीन चाहता हूँ दुराऊ, देखहु नारी सुभाव प्रभाऊ, निज माया बलु हृदय बखानी, बोले भी हसी राम मृदुबानी. So he immediately understood Lord Rama. So he addresses her in very softly and bows to her, says, "Oh mother, how come you are roaming around in this forest alone? Where is Lord Shiva? I don't see him." When Sati hears this, she immediately understood that what Lord Shiva was saying, that is correct. He is Supreme God himself, and he is just playing the role of a human being and therefore feigning the ignorance, but he knows everything. And then Sati feels a little bit ashamed, and she just says, "Oh, yeah, I just come here, and okay, I just bow to you, and I want to take your leave." And she takes leave of Lord Rama, but she's sort of having the mixture of feelings of shame and disturbance in her heart. She does not know what will Lord Shiva think. And she is feeling very disturbed by all this, that why did she try to test him? When she is going in this kind of mood, Lord Rama shows further his effect. So now wherever Sati sees, everywhere she sees Lord Rama, Mother Sita and Lakshmana. Whichever direction she looks at, she sees all three of them, and they are being served by all the gods and goddesses. And she sees them in all different forms and everywhere. When she sees all this spectacle, she gets even further proof of divinity of Lord Rama, and she just bows down to him. And when she opens her eyes again, there was nobody. And then she walks back like that. She reaches Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva asks her laughingly, "Okay, so how did you test him? Are you convinced now? What kind of test you took? Tell me truthfully." And Sati, she just said, "No, I didn't really test anything or any like that. I just went and bowed down to him, and I believe that what you are saying is true in my heart." She just said like this. When Lord Shiva heard this, he understood immediately that Sati is not telling the truth. He went into the meditation. He understood everything what Sati did. And she took the form of Mother Sita. And how did she try to test Lord Rama? He saw everything and he understood. Then he just bows down to the power of Lord Rama, the Maya power, the power of Maya, which makes even Sati tell a lie. But considering that indeed is the will of Lord, he did not want to blame Sati for that. So there is a verse here. Bahuri Ram Maya hi sirunawa, प्रेर सती जही झूठ कहावा, हर इच्छा भावी बलवाना, हृदय विचारत शंभु सुजाना. So he understood that, okay, this is all will of Lord. That's how it is his delusive power, because of which even Sati is affected and telling a lie to me, which was inconceivable for either Lord Shiva to think that his wife would tell a lie, or even for Sati, because she was so devoted and dedicated to Lord Shiva that she would tell a lie. But now this thing happened. Lord Shiva is thinking, what should he do next? And he was particularly disturbed by the fact that Sati had taken the form of Mother Sita, whom Lord Shiva considered like a mother, because she is the wife of Lord Rama, whom he considers as worthy of worship. So because Sati took the form of Mother Sita, this particular point disturbed Lord Shiva a lot. And now he is thinking, what should I do? It is something that I cannot consider her as my wife anymore, because she took the form of Mother Sita. At the same time, I cannot just leave her because she is so dedicated and devoted to me. So with this thought in his mind, he just prayed to Lord Rama, and then his thought came to his mind that in this life he cannot treat Sati as his wife anymore. And with this conviction in his heart, he made a resolution that in this life he will not consider Sati as his wife. He will not unite with Sati as his wife anymore in this life. With this resolution, when he made this resolution, there were a lot of gods and goddesses who praised him. Sati could not quite understand exactly what was happening because the resolution was in Lord Shiva's heart. He did not say it in words. And she is asking him that, what did you do? What kind of resolution did you make? Why these people are praising you? And Lord Shiva just doesn't reveal anything. He just keeps quiet. And when Sati is feeling a little bit more disturbed, he just starts telling her some stories, and they reach Mount Kailash, their abode, their home. There, Lord Shiva, thinking about his resolution, he just sits under a tree, and he just went into samadhi. That is considered Lord Shiva's nature, that he is always in the state of samadhi, just closes his eyes and he is in a state of samadhi. With this, Lord Shiva went into very long samadhi. Now Sati understood that Lord Shiva has decided not to treat me as his wife anymore, and she is very disturbed by that thought. At the same time, she understands that it's her fault in the first place, but she doesn't know what to do. So she also prays to Lord Rama, look, people tell you that you are the remover of all the sorrows in the heart of the people. I have done a mistake, and I am getting the fruit of it. I am getting the result of it. But I don't want to suffer it like that for very long. You do something so that my life, I basically give up my life, because I do not want to live having displeasure of Lord Shiva, because he is soul and soul for me. He is everything for me. So I cannot live with his displeasure or his disapproval. So I just want to die. You do something that I should be able to give up my life. With this prayer, Lord Shiva went into samadhi for a very long time. And when he came out of samadhi, Sati goes and bows down to him. And Lord Shiva tells her some stories. At the same time, there was some activity in the sky. It is said that some planes were going, and people were going to some place. And when Sati saw that, she asked Lord Shiva, what is happening? Where are all these people going? And he tells her that Daksha is Sati's father. He was a kind of king, and Lord Rama had made him the emperor. So he was conducting a huge fire ceremony. At that time, when people had to celebrate a victory, an occasion like this, they would conduct a huge fire ceremony. So Daksha, Sati's father, he was conducting a huge fire ceremony in which he had invited all the other kings and gods and goddesses. Because he was the emperor right now, everybody was going. And Sati, when she heard that from Lord Shiva, that her father is conducting a great fire ceremony, it's a great celebration, she also wanted to go. So here it is. बड़ अधिकार दक्ष जब पावा, अति अभिमान हृदय तब आवा, नहीं को अस जन्मा जग माही, प्रभुता पाई जाहि मद नाही, Daksha, when he was made this emperor or the head, he got a lot of powers. And he got really lot of pride and he wanted to show off, and that's why he started this great big fire ceremony. And here Tulsidas says that there was never a creature in this world whom power did not intoxicate. Gurudev Baba Hariharananda used to say that if you want to test a person, give him some power and then see how does he or she behaves. So Daksha, of course, got a lot of pride because he was given the power and he was doing this great fire ceremony to show off his stature, and he had invited everybody and everybody was coming because they could not afford to displease Daksha. So when Sati says, I want to go, Lord Shiva said, it's a good idea that you should go to your father's fire ceremony. But you see, he hasn't invited us. And generally it is not a problem because to our father's place we can go uninvited. But the thing is that he has invited all your sisters and just left you alone. And the reason why he did not invite you, because he does not like me. So what happened in the earlier times, once Daksha went into an assembly where everybody stood up to bow to him, Lord Shiva did not. Because Lord Shiva is just Supreme Lord himself. He did not feel like that he would need to bow down to anybody or he would need to stand up any particular to show any special honor to anybody. So Daksha, what he did not realize that Shiva was such a supreme being, he felt offended. He thought, okay, this guy, he is trying to just not giving me proper respect. So he had developed an animosity with Lord Shiva. So in this fire ceremony, when he is inviting everybody else, the only person he had left out is Lord Shiva. And along with Shiva, he did not also invite Sati, his wife, who is also his daughter, like Daksha's daughter. So Lord Shiva said, Sati, you can go. I mean, it is your father's fire ceremony. But you see, he considers animosity towards me. And therefore, he has also not invited you. So in that case, it is good not to go. Now, Sati was feeling a little bit uneasy earlier itself when Lord Shiva had decided not to treat her as his wife anymore. And also she wanted to just see her family, her parents. So she said, no, I want to go. It is my father's. It will be okay. My father's place. It will be okay. So when she did not listen to Lord Shiva said, okay, you go. And he sent some of his attendants to make sure that they serve Sati and they protect her with Sati. And when Sati reaches to the fire ceremony, the celebration, the great celebration, Daksha, when he sees Sati, he did not like. He did not give any importance to Sati. He did not welcome her at all. Her sisters, Sati's sisters, they smiled like a smile of that you see what you have done to, you have married to Shiva and you have no respect. So they kind of a smile of contempt. Only Sati's mother, she received her with some kindness. And nobody else showed any respect towards Sati because they were afraid of Daksha. When Sati sees this, she of course feels a little bit offended, but that is fine. She somehow tolerates and she remembered Lord Shiva had asked her not to come and she was already feeling a little bit miserable not to listen to him and come here anyway. But then when she went towards the place of fire ceremony, there, as a part of the ritual of fire ceremony, there is a share of all the deities. And there has to be a share of Lord Shiva also. Daksha, because of his animosity towards Lord Shiva, he did not even do that. He decided not to assign any share in the name of Lord Shiva from the fire ceremony. Sati questioned him on this particular aspect, he just insulted her. He insulted Lord Shiva, he insulted her, and he said, this is what you deserve because you have married him. When Sati heard this, she could not tolerate it. She felt extremely miserable. So this one, Jadyapi Jagdarun Dukh Nana, Sabte Kathin Jati Avmana, Samuji so Sati hi bhayau ati krodha, Bahuvidhi Janani ki na prabodha. Here Tulsidas is saying that even though there are a lot of different kind of sorrows and agonies in this world, the insult offered to one's own people is the most painful, most difficult to bear. Therefore, when somebody feels the hurt of racism, but so painfully, because it is like you are clubbing the whole race. So whenever you club the other people of the similar kind or their own people, that becomes very difficult to bear. When Sati saw all this, she became extremely angry and upset. And she would not listen to anybody. And she said, she addressed her father and said, you have insulted Shiva, you have to bear the fruit of this right now. And because this body of mine, it is born of your body in a way, you are my biological father, I will not even keep this body. I'll just decide to give up this body. And she, at that spot, she decided to give up the body. She just went into this deep yogic state and gave up the body. She just died at this spot. When it happened, it of course became a huge chaos there. And because at the time of fire ceremony, such kind of event happened. Here, Sati marat harisan barumaga janam siv pad anuraga tehi karan himgiri greh jai janmi parvati tanupai. While dying, Sati asked a boon of Lord Rama. She asked that in every birth I take, may I be completely dedicated and devoted to Lord Shiva. So Sati died like this in the fire of yoga. And then the attendants which Lord Shiva had made accompany Sati, they felt very upset. Sati died, which is the wife of their master. And they started deciding to destroy the fire ceremony. When they did that, one of the sages who was presiding over the fire ceremony, they had a lot of powers too. So they stopped them from destroying it further. Eventually, Lord Shiva comes to know of the whole thing. He comes to know of Daksha insulting him and Sati. He came to know Sati self-immolating herself in the fire of yoga. And he felt extremely upset. Lord Shiva being the Lord, he sent he actually created two very ferocious beings right at that time. And he gave them the order that you go destroy the whole fire ceremony. Whoever comes in your way, you punish them. These two people who Lord Shiva created for this purpose, they were extremely powerful. None of the powers of the sages who were presiding over the fire ceremony could come in their way. So they just went, they destroyed the whole fire ceremony, they broke the limbs of the people who protested, they finally got hold of Daksha and they cut his head. And when all this happened, they took the body of Sati and then went to Lord Shiva and gave him the body of Sati. The story goes that Lord Shiva goes to that place also because it was considered a very huge fire ceremony. It was considered done with a good intention, even though he was doing it for showing off, but it was done with a good intention. So Brahma and Vishnu, they went to Lord Shiva and said, it is not auspicious that this fire ceremony does not get completed. So you please give up your anger, be pacified, and allow this fire ceremony to the completion. So Lord Shiva said, okay. So now because Daksha, who was the main person who was conducting the fire ceremony, he was already died, Lord Shiva gave him the life back. But what he did, instead of giving the life back in the regular way, he put a head of a goat, a male goat. So Daksha was revived with the head of a male goat. When he got revived, because he went through this experience of death and he also saw the power of Lord Shiva, he understood the reality of Lord Shiva. And then he bowed to him and the whole fire ceremony finally gets completed. But Lord Shiva, he was inconsolate because Sati, his wife, she had given up her body just because she could not tolerate the insult of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva withdrew from all the activities and everything. He did not find interest in anything. So there's a story that he took the body of Sati and just started roaming here and there in the whole land. And wherever the parts of that body, because this body is a dead body, it is decomposing, the different parts of the body are falling in different places. Wherever the parts of the body fell, those places are the temples of Divine Mother. So today in India, those places are known as Shakti Pitha, the great temples of Divine Mother. There are about 51 in number, corresponding to 51 letters of Sanskrit alphabet. So those temples are still there. Like people believe that those are the places where these temples are built, and these temples are considered great places of worship. These are called Shakti Pitha, the place of Shakti worship, that is the Divine Mother worship. Another part of the story says that because Lord Shiva was roaming around, keeping Sati's body with him, and he was not getting consoled by anything, when Vishnu saw this state, he used his discus to cut the body into pieces so that Lord Shiva will come out of this sort of trance and become like a normal person. Whatever the way, then the story says that wherever the discus cut the pieces of the body, that's where these Shakti Pitha, the temples of Divine Mother, have sprung up. But it is believed that these temples are because some part of the body of Divine Mother fell in that place. So, for example, one is in the Himalayas called Purnagiri, where the navel of Divine Mother is believed to have fallen in that place. So, because Sati had asked a boon from Lord Rama that may I have dedication and devotion to Lord Shiva in every birth, she was born as a daughter of Himalaya in the next birth, called Parvati. So Parvati is coming from Parvat. Parvat is the mountain, and the daughter of Parvat is Parvati. So when Parvati was born, She is the form of Divine Mother. She is the wife of Lord Shiva from the previous life. There was a lot of good omens in Himalaya. Himalaya is considered the king of all mountains. So somebody would wonder that how can possibly Himalaya, a mountain, have a daughter? So we have a belief that all these mountains, rivers, they are presided by the deity. So they are not just the piece of stone, but they also have the consciousness, and they have the presiding deity. It is just that their body is in that form, in the form of a stone, in the form of a mountain, but they have the consciousness. So it is the presiding deity, that is the Himalaya, that's what is referred to. So there was daughter Parvati. So Parvati grew up a very, very beautiful young woman, and of course repository of all the good qualities. So once Sage Narada, he visited that place. He wanted to see the Divine Mother in the form of Parvati. So he visited that place. And when he visited Himalaya, because Sage Narada, he is considered a celestial sage. He can go to any of the planes of existence. He has this boon that he can just go to any planes of existence. Also, whenever Sage Narada meets anybody, he tries to motivate that person in some way or the other to become a devotee of Lord, to develop some dispassion. Because of that, he is also sometimes jokingly called as conflict-creating sage, because sometimes he creates the conflict to create the dispassion in the people. So and he is respected by all. So whether demons, whether sages, whether ordinary people, whether devotees of the Lord, or even the people who are opposite to Lord, he is somehow honored by everybody. And when he arrived to mountain, this Himalaya, the Himalaya welcomed him, Himalaya and his wife, Maina. They welcomed him. And then Narada is also considered all-knowing, like he knows the past and future of everybody. So they brought their daughter Parvati to Narada and said, "Can you take a look at her? Can you see her hand?" That is the tradition in India. Normally, where people show their hands to know the future. So they brought Parvati and requested Narada, "Oh sage, can you see her hand? Can you tell her future? How is she going to be?" Then Sage Narada looks at Parvati and then he tells. So I'll read these verses. कहे मुनि बिहसि गूढ़ मृदु बानी, सुता तुम्हारी सकल गुण खानी, सुंदर सहज सुशील सयानी, नाम उमा अंबिका भवानी, सब लक्षण संपन्न कुमारी, होई संतत बियहि प्यारी, सदा अचल एहि कर अहि वाता, एहि तेजसु पैहि पितु माता, होई पूज्य सकल जग माही, एहि सेवत कछु दुर्लभ नाही, एहि कर नाम सुमिर संसारा, त्रिय चढ़हि पतिव्रत असिधारा, सैल सुलक्षण सुता तुम्हारी, सुनहु जे अब गुण दुई चारी, अगुण अमान मातु पितु हीना, उदासीन सब संशय छीना, जोगी जटिल अकाम मन, नगन अमंगल वेश, अस स्वामी यही कह मिलिहि, परिहस्त असिरे, सुनि मुनि गिरा सत्य जिय जानी, दुख दंपति उमा हर्षानी. So Lord Narada just smiled and he spoke, "Oh, your daughter, she is a mine of all the virtues. She is very amiable and intelligent by nature. She will be known by many names in this world. She will be known as Uma, Ambika, Bhavani. And she will always be dear to her husband. She will ever remain united with her husband. She will attain so much glory that because of her, you will attain the glory, being her parents. She will be worshipped in the whole world. There will be nothing that people cannot get by worshipping her. Particularly regarding the marriage, and that's a tradition today also in India, when girls are of marriageable age, they worship Parvati. They worship Divine Mother in the form of Parvati to get a good husband. And then Narada says that I have described all these amazing qualities of your daughter. Now listen a little bit which is not so nice about her. So they got a little bit, okay, what is not so nice about her? So he says, her husband, he will be devoid of all the qualities. He will be free from pride. He will not have parents. He will be without the parents. He will not be concerned about anything. He won't have any doubt, but won't care for anything. He will remain as an ascetic. He will not seek anything in life. He will be stark naked, will not wear the clothes. And his friends and followers, they will be all sorts of demons and ghouls and ghosts. They will be his followers. And such kind of person will be her husband. That's what the line on her hand shows. Now when Sage Narada said this, there was a silence for a moment. And then they all understood that whatever Sage Narada is saying, that is bound to be true. There is no doubt about it. Sage Narada knows past and future. He has read her hand. Now there cannot be any doubt about what he is saying. So they all became a little emotional, all three, but differently. The parents, they became sad. They became very sorrowful. While Parvati, who is also known as Uma, she became very joyful. She became emotional with the lot of joy and devotion. And because she could not hide her devotion and emotion coming out of it, she just left that place. When she left and went to her friends, when she left the place, the parents, they are naturally very sorrowful that such a beautiful daughter of ours, depository of all the good qualities, and would be getting such a husband. They asked Narada, is there any way to counter it? Like, is there any ritual? Because in India, when you go to an astrologer, and if he tells you something which is not so good, he many a times also tells that what can you do? Maybe some worship, maybe some charity, which will mitigate the effect of this bad planets. So they asked Narada, is there anything can be done? And Narada says, no, nothing can be done. That's what her fate is, and that is bound to happen. None can change it. But there is one thing. All these things which I have told you, all these qualities of her husband, they are found in Lord Shiva. If Lord Shiva can be her husband, then everything which right now looks negative, that all will be positive. But Lord Shiva is not easy to attain. So you tell your daughter to perform some meditation, to perform some austerities for gaining Lord Shiva. And there is a very famous saying in Tulsidas, समरथ कहूं नहीं दोष गोसाई रवि पावक सुर सर की नाई. That the mighty people, they do not incur any blame. So even though Lord, all these qualities which apparently appear negative, what I have told in her husband, because Lord Shiva is also with those qualities, and he is so powerful, he is the Lord, he does not incur any blame. People worship him despite having all those characteristics. So mighty do not incur blame. And he gives like example of sun. Sun shines everywhere. It shines on the holy river. It shines on the pot of wine also. It gives the light to a sage. It gives the light to a murderer also. But sun does not incur any blame on that account. Sun is still considered holy and people worship sun god. Similarly, fire eats everything. Whatever you put in fire, good or bad, it eats everything. But fire does not incur any blame on that account. So very famous quote, even today many times it is quoted in the casual conversation when people want to quote somebody who is very powerful and he has done some mistakes, and they say, Samrat khau nahi dosh gosai, means mighty people do not incur blame. And in USA we say that different rules for different people, means the people with the power, they can play with the rules, they can bend the rules for themselves. So Sage Narada left, giving this advice to parents. And then Himalaya, he says to his wife that, look, whatever Narada has said, that is bound to be true. What you do now, you go to your daughter and convince her to go for this austerities, to do the meditation. Now, mother was not feeling very enthusiastic about it, to tell her daughter to perform the austerities. Anyway, she goes to her daughter and looking at her, I mean, she is so tender, she is so still so young and so beautiful. She could not just bring herself to tell her that you should go to the forest, perform the austerities. So what Parvati did, the Uma, she herself starts telling her mother that, look, I had a dream. And in that dream, there was a person, an old sage, who had come. And he said, what Narada has told you, all that will be true. And all these qualities are on Lord Shiva. And you can attain Lord Shiva, but you have to perform a lot of austerities. Even your parents will be okay with this if you want to perform the austerities. So here it is. Matu pitu hi bahu vidhi samujhai, chali uma tapahit harshai, priya parivar pita arumata, bhai bikal mukh avana bata. So instead of mother telling the daughter that you should go, daughter herself takes that step and tells mother that it will be okay, because mother was not comfortable in telling her that you should go for austerities. So she says, mother, you please don't worry. Whatever Narada has said, that will not never be false. And I want to follow his words, and I want to go for austerities and meditation. So like that, she convinces, she makes them understand, and she leaves for the forest in a secluded place to perform the austerities and meditation. So with this, I'll stop today. Our time is over, and I would just ask if you have any questions or comments. Why there is a question? Why does Tulsidas include this story? So, because this is the story of Rama. So the question is coming because I believe the question is saying that because this is the story of Rama, why is he telling the story of Lord Shiva? So you see, this is the very popular form of narrative in India since ancient times. So when you ask a question to somebody, they normally say, oh, you know, this question was asked by this person earlier, and I'll tell you what they told you. They told about this question. So person does not want to take the credit that, look, I am answering your question. He says, oh, this question was answered by Lord himself earlier. And therefore, I'll tell you that what that. So here, you know, Yagyavalkya and Bharadwaja. So Bharadwaja asked this question that how can, is Lord Rama the same thing, Supreme Lord, or is he just a ordinary prince born of King Dasharath? Or the Rama who is worshipped all over, who is that Rama? So when Yagyavalkya says, oh, this question was asked by Sati, Lord Shiva's wife earlier. So he is first taking the background of that what caused this question to come up in the mind of Sati or in the mind of Parvati in the first place. So that's where this whole story is being narrated. And there is also another reason why this story is being narrated, and that will come later in this story itself. The another question is, what is the name of Ma Parvati mother's name? Maina. So Himalaya and Maina. Maina is the name of, I'll just write. So her name is Maina, the mother of Parvati. So thank you for your interest. It is nice to see your interest, and as you know, all the videos I'm posting on YouTube, our channel. So at any time, if you want to watch any of the episodes which you happen to miss, or otherwise you just want to listen to the story again because it is such a charming story of Lord Rama, always you can listen to those videos. And also I have provided a link that you can read the original scripture, which is there in the PDF form. So if you are comfortable in doing so, you can do that. It is an ever joyful scripture to read. People who have read it hundreds and hundreds of times find the joy to read this scripture again and again. So with this, if there are no more questions or comments, okay, there is one question here. So Swamiji, God is one. Lord Shiva is praying to Lord Rama. Lord Rama prayed to Lord Shiva at Rameshwaram. Yet there is always Shaivites and Vaishnavites fighting to establish superiority of each of the sides. Can you please clarify? So this is a beautiful question. What he is saying that God is one. Lord Shiva and Lord Rama, there is no fight. They both worship each other because they both are aspects of the same supreme divinity. But their followers fight, and that will always be the case. That's how even today, the great gurus, the great masters, they don't have any fight or disturbance with anything, but their followers will always find some disturbance. So that's how it is. There is a comment here. Mother Sati had to go through a new life because she did not realize the true form of Lord Rama. That is correct. And metaphorically speaking, that is true for every one of us. We go through the birth after birth because we do not realize the true form of the Lord. Once we realize, then there is no more birth and death follows. So there is another question, what is the significance of the story? So I just told you. So, and also it will come later on a little bit. Some of these questions which you are asking, beautiful questions, they do get clarified later in the story. Okay, so with this, we will close our session today, and I'll do the prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all.